the first signal for that, Eric was like, look, we can't pay you anything to do this. And I was like, well, I can't quit my job. I was like, why don't you guys go see if you can rally 100 applications to this? Create a quick landing page, call it an investor program, and we'll see what you guys, Eric, Elizabeth, and the other GP at Hustle Fund, Sheehan, let's see what you guys can do. And so the three of them just posted on Facebook and like texted their friends. They didn't post it publicly. It was completely in stealth. And within a week and a half, there were 100 applications of people who said they would be willing to pay $2,500 to participate. And I was like, 100 applications, $2,500. That was enough to me to signal, wow, like there is an appetite for this. Without a ton of effort, we were able to rally that much interest.
Hey everybody. All right. This is a video interview where I talk with Brian, who is the founder of Angel Squad, on how he built a community of over 1,500 angel investors. Hey Brian. All right. So super excited to chat with you today. Our plan here is we're going to go over three things. We're going to go over just some background on what is Angel Squad. We're going to go over like the growth of the community. And then we're going to talk about the impact of the community at the end. Does that sound good with you?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome, man. I'm so freaking excited. Okay, so first, just to set the stage for everyone, what exactly is Angel Squad? What's Hustle Fund? And how is Angel Squad different than like your standard syndicate?
All right, let's do it. Jumping right in. So Angel Squad is an investor program that we put together at Hustle Fund, which is an early stage venture capital fund based in Silicon Valley. And so what we've done with Angel Squad is we've created content, a curriculum, where we're teaching people how we make investment decisions at our fund to invest in early stage startups. And then we're giving access to those same people to invest alongside our fund into our top performing portfolio companies. And so what people have joined for is both the educational component and then the real practical application of the education to invest into a vetted selection of startup opportunities where our fund is investing. We're putting skin in the game into each of these companies as well. And what's also kind of happened along the way is we've built this an amazing community element to it where people are connecting with each other. People are becoming close friends. They're traveling to visit each other. We're hosting in-person events where people can get together and get to know these other squad members is what we call them. And then the last piece it's really exciting for those folks who, it sounds like a lot of the readers of your content or your general audience are people who work at startups, is when you invest in early stage startups, it's really helpful to those startups if you can help them in any way. And that help can be in the form of using your growth marketing experience to support that company. Or if that company is looking for introductions to, people who you might know, making that introduction, it helps a ton. And so a lot of people join Angel Squad because they've worked at, big tech companies for a long time. And they're like, I really miss the 5-person, 10-person startup days and where I could really have immediate impact. And so, offering up some time to make that impact is something we really try to connect the dots between the portfolio companies and the people in the squad.
Man, that's so cool. Okay, so I'm immediately going to go off script here. So what would you say is like the primary reason that people like join Angel Squad? I'm hearing like access to deal flow.
Yep.
I'm hearing like a community of people around you, like actually learning how to become a good angel investor. Is there like a primary thing that like pulls people in, or is it like a combination of the whole package, do you think?
I think the number one thing is people want to learn. So they want to get smarter about early stage investing. Some people don't know anything. They have never worked at a startup. They're a professional athlete and they're like, hey, startup investing sounds cool, but where do I begin? So we bring those people in. We have a chef in Turkey. She didn't really know what you do with angel investing. And we have an allergist. We have surgeons. So those people need to learn. And before they want to get some diversification in their portfolio into this asset class, but they don't really know where to start, and just, starting to spray checks into random, friends' companies that they come across, it's probably not the way to do that. So that's the number one piece is the learning, but then also secondarily, the deal flow. A lot of people are really busy. They want to see high quality investment opportunities at, reasonable terms. where, a venture fund has done their diligence and has filtered, out of a lot of different investment options, they filtered down to this one. And now you as the squad member can decide if you want to participate. Those are really 1 and 2. And then I think people are pretty surprised by the community piece and how valuable that can be for people if they really want to lean into that.
That's so cool, man. I remember seeing a tweet from Eric somewhere about like how many deals you guys get submitted each week. Do you happen to know what that is, like off the top of your head?
About 1,000 deals a month is what we're seeing. Yeah.
Insane.
And so we're sharing, around 5 deals a month from the 1,000 with the squad. And remember, we've been doing this for, 6+ years now. And so there's not just those deals that we're seeing at the top of the funnel that month, but all of the deals we've invested in over the past 6 years that are also fundraising. They're further along. Those are, Series A, Series B, Series C companies. So you can kind of have that selection optionality of like, I want to invest really early stage in the pre-seed, or I want to come in and invest in the Rupa Healths of the world who are way further along. And it's a slightly different sort of asset class to be investing in that later stage private market asset class. But we kind of offer it all up.
Got it, man. That's so cool. Okay, so in like the last couple of years, it's kind of felt like Angel Squad has sort of become like YC, but for like investors. I'm super curious, like when you guys first started, where did the idea to create Angel Squad even come from?
Yeah, well, we are hopefully on that path to become the YC of angel investing. And I think that is where we're feeling the market pull us. We want, when people think, I want to get involved in startup investing, where do I go? We want them to think of Angel Squad in the same way that if you're a founder and you're thinking about raising venture funding and you want to join a program in a community for founders, you think of YC. So we're trying to kind of rise to that level over the years. It'll take us a while to get there. This idea came because it turned out that Hustle Fund, Eric and Elizabeth at the time, who I had just started to get to know, and I had this idea completely independently of creating an angel program. And they had a document, a Google Doc that they sent to me after I shared with them my vision for what this could be. And the overlap was substantial. And we were like, wow, seems like we should do this. And so they're like, yeah, come do it. I mean, why don't you leave your job? It seems like we got something here. And I was like, great. Like, what's the compensation package look like? And they're like, oh, we can't pay you at all. And so I was like, oh, I'll tell my wife. And we just had our second child. I'm sure she'll be thrilled. So we basically, we figured out that we have the opportunity to create a membership model and a fee structure that would make it possible for me to work at Hustle Fund. And the way that we decided to go for it was, we both had this shared insight that there are so many people from all over the world who are interested in early stage investing. I knew this because I started the Lyft syndicate, the Lyft alumni syndicate on AngelList. And I had started doing deals for about a year and a half at that point, where I opened it up from just Lyft alumni to just anyone in the world who could join my syndicate, where I personally, Brian Nichols, was sourcing deals and sharing them with the syndicate. And the people who were joining were, energy traders. They were allergists. They were a lot of startup people, of course. But the range was huge. And what they were all doing was investing like $1,000 to $5,000 checks into these companies. And then we would syndicate it. And I was like, these people who are joining this syndicate that I started, and I just started to learn how to invest, they are making I'm not any more advanced at this than them. Why don't they come and learn from somebody how to do this? And I'm not the person to teach them. I really respect Eric and Elizabeth and her prolific tweet storms and her blog posts are just like stuff of legends. And so I when we had this overlapping belief that this was something the market would want, we decided to pull the trigger and go for it. And it turned out our hypothesis turned out to be very true.
Man, that's so cool. So was there like a moment when you knew that like Angel Squad like sort of had product market and were like, this is like actually going to work?
So I think the first signal for that, as I mentioned, Eric was like, look, we can't pay you anything to do this. And I was like, well, I can't quit my job. So I was like, why don't you guys go see if you can rally, 100 applications to this? Like, create a quick landing page, call it an investor program, and we'll see what you guys, Eric, Elizabeth, and the other GP at Hustle Fund, Sheehan, let's see what you guys can do. And so the three of them just posted on Facebook and like texted their friends. They didn't post it publicly. It was completely in stealth. And within like a week and a half, there were 100 applications of people who said they would be willing to pay $2,500 to participate. And I was like, 100 applications, 2,500. That seems like there's enough market interest. Of course, it's from like insiders and friends and people who trust these people, but that was enough to me to signal, wow, like there is an appetite for this. Without a ton of effort, we were able to rally that much interest. And from that point, I think the second indication of strong market pull was, and you probably hear this a lot, was just referrals. Those people joined. We did the first cohort. We kept it all completely under wraps. We did not announce it publicly until our second cohort was done. And we were able to grow, from cohort 1 to cohort 2 and do so in a meaningful way, all through referrals, 100% referrals. So people just telling their friends, I just joined this new thing and it's cool. You might like it. And we, from there, we were like, okay, once we rip the kind of the veil off and we come out of stealth with a TechCrunch article and really like push it out on all of our different channels, this thing's going to go. And so that's exactly what happened.
Man, that's so fascinating. It's so interesting that you guys charged like literally like $2,500 to have access to this, because like conventional wisdom would sort of be like, oh, keep it free. More people that join, the better. So yep. was the forcing factor to charge that money just you needed to like actually make money so you didn't die? And I'm curious why you decided to keep charging as well at scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. So I'm so glad you asked. So yeah, at first, we needed to charge because I needed to get paid a salary. And then the second piece was we also wanted to be able to build a business around this and hire other people besides me. And now there's 10 people who work on this with me. It's a really well-oiled machine. We have, just a lot of resources go into making this experience really special for people. And one interesting thing though, so the first couple cohorts, I guess it was maybe actually over a year, and maybe it was like the first 5 cohorts, $2,500, 6 months. You waited about until our kickoff event. So if you joined 2 months before our kickoff, you paid your $2,500, you waited, and then we would do a kickoff. And then the market turned in like April, May of last year, right? That was May of 2022. And when we did our normal launch, every cohort, we said applications are open. Every time we did that, we were getting like 80 to 100 people who are applying to pay and be part of this thing. When we did it, when the market turned, like 10 people applied. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is not going to work in the way that it's currently structured. So we need to do a couple things. We need to lower the price. We need to make it, give people a free trial to check it out and see if they like it, so they get immediate access instead of have to wait 2 months to go to a kickoff. We need to give a couple options. One could be just a subscription that's $875 a quarter. And then what we found when we kind of went back to all of our existing members to do right by them, they had just paid all this money. What we found was they wanted to become lifetime members and pay just an extra $1,000 to become a lifetime member from their $2,500. So $3,500, you become a lifetime member. And so we to this day, that has really worked quite well, of having a free trial. And then we have the 2 options. It's $875 a quarter or $875 over 4 months, and you're in for life. And so that's $3,500 broken into 4 monthly payments. You could also just pay the $3,500. So that's how we do it. It's given us incredible leverage as a business to just continue to throw amazing events in person for the members, to really invest resources on the human side to get to make sure that everything's a super well-oiled machine. We actually were able to hire an investment team member out of Angel Squad. So Haley Bryant works as a Hustle Fund principal full-time because of the fees that we've been able to generate with Angel Squad. And she was in Angel Squad. So we found this amazing, talented person in Angel Squad, and we're able to hire her because of Angel Squad. So we're really proud of that. And it's so cool to see Haley really shine as an investor at Hustle Fund.
Man, that's so cool. Just from the outside looking in, I think there's like two really cool takeaways from that. The first one is that you always think that in order to build something massive, you have to have like an innovation in technology. But it seems like you guys had an innovation in business model almost. And it wasn't like there was like a crazy SaaS system behind it, but like you guys had like a better business model on how to execute something.
Yeah.
The second piece is that people think about like, oh, we want to grow faster, we want to grow really big, that like we should reduce our pricing and we should make things really cheap or like give them away for free. But I've seen like with this example, and then what I've seen in the past too, is like sometimes increasing your pricing means that you now have the resources to hire a team and expand into market. And I just think that's really cool, man.
The other thing too, yeah, thank you. And I think the other thing about it that I didn't say is I firmly believe that in order for you to have a strong community, which we do, you need people to have some skin in the game. Yeah. And in this case, it's money. So it's kind of like, how often do you think you would go to the gym if you didn't pay a gym membership?
Yep.
If every gym was free, they would be more empty than they already are, right? People go because they feel guilty that they aren't taking advantage of their investment in themselves, right? And so in the same way, I feel very strongly that if you want strong community engagement, there needs to be some sort of skin in the game. Ideally, it's a cost that makes people feel pulled to participate and contribute and be involved. So there will always be a fee associated with joining Angel Squad for that reason.
That's really cool, man. All right, time boxing myself. Let's move on to our next session around growth. So first question is, I'm really curious, how did you guys get your first 100 community members? So you're talking a little bit about how you posted it on Facebook. Did it go out anywhere else?
No, yeah, it was just Elizabeth, Eric, and Sheehan, our 3 GPs, posted it on Facebook, posted it in like WhatsApp groups, DM their friends, old Facebook groups that they were a part of, Slack groups that they were a part of. We really did not want it to spread publicly because it was really just a landing page to see if people wanted this. That was the first tactic, was just not cold, just direct messaging and keeping it insulated within our own kind of private ecosystems. It was just them. I didn't do any of that at first. Once we got the ball rolling, then I turned it on myself, but it was nothing on Twitter, nothing on LinkedIn. And then the next 100 came from referrals from those people.
Man, that's so cool. So now that you guys have like sort of hit scale, I'm curious how much of it comes from like how much growth comes from like word of mouth versus like channels like LinkedIn versus Twitter versus whatever.
Yeah. So referrals still account for around 40% of all Angel Squad members. It's just, whether it's people intentionally referring their friend, or a lot of people in Angel Squad have added it to their LinkedIn experience. And so somebody goes to their profile, one of their friends sees that they're in it and they're like, cool, like, I didn't know you were doing this. They click the link to, it basically tracks them all the way to us. And so we get a lot from just that. Hustle Fund in general has invested a lot in just content. We put a lot of really high quality content out on all different platforms. And so, Twitter and LinkedIn have really been great drivers for us of that, of applications. We've never done paid marketing. We've never invested in in, any ads at all. So that channel is still untapped for us. We're still really focused on just building out our brand and our coverage, specifically focusing on LinkedIn, because we're finding that that is a incredible channel to connect with professionals who are interested in investing. So we're just going to keep on leaning into LinkedIn.
Wow, that's wild. Okay, so I totally thought that your guys' growth was mainly coming from Twitter. So if you add up the Eric plus Elizabeth plus Hustle Fund VC Twitter accounts, I think you guys have like over 200,000 followers, just about.
Yeah.
And you guys are really getting more traffic that's coming in from LinkedIn versus those Twitter accounts?
So it's a really good question. I think part of the LinkedIn is that a lot of people in Angel Squad post on LinkedIn about Angel Squad, right? And so they're both adding it to their experience in their profile, or they're saying, I joined this great angel community and I love it. More people on LinkedIn are doing that than they are on Twitter. And so I think we're seeing that flywheel kind of starts to spin and we really are starting to encourage it, because we're loving the quality of people that keep coming from this channel of turns out high quality professionals bring high quality professionals to your community, right? And so the more that people are posting about Angel Squad or posting on their LinkedIn that they're in Angel Squad, the more it's attracting other high quality professionals. Maybe it's lawyers, right? Right now, we don't have a good way of getting in front of lawyers. But as we build a LinkedIn brand, that is changing. Versus on Twitter, you're right. We have a super strong brand presence in tech Twitter world. We've tapped that pretty hard. Tech Twitter knows about Angel Squad. They just do. Elizabeth makes it clear. Eric makes it clear. The Hustle Fund account makes it clear. We have tapped that pretty well. I think now it's time to go broader. And we love that, because we love just bringing in these diverse viewpoints, diverse backgrounds into our community, and also supporting the companies that we're investing in. It's really helpful for those companies to have, a lawyer who might specialize in the thing that they might need legal help with, right? So we really like, bringing in new sources of squad applications.
Man, that's so fascinating. Okay, so you have these massive channels that are driving growth. So LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm curious if there's any other growth loops within your guys' product that helps power the whole system. You're talking a little bit about how they put it on their LinkedIn profile. I'm super curious.
So I've touched on the referral piece, which I haven't explained why it works so well. And that is, I mentioned the cost is $875 per quarter, or you break it up into monthly payments and you're in for life. You can save $875 if you refer a friend. And we do that. That's a really rich incentive at $875 CAC for that person, right? Is what we're paying if they bring a friend, because we are saving that person $875. The person who refers, right? Yeah. So as a result, that's the flywheel that really has worked well. And the thing I would say about that is we do that intentionally because it allows people who maybe otherwise couldn't be part of Angel Squad, if they're hustlers and they want to get access to this network, they can join it and they can go out and hustle their way into referring people, and they can cover their entire costs by just referring friends.
Does it max out? So let's say I pay for the lifetime membership. Do I then get $875 cash that I can put into a company or something?
We give you $200 cash.
Okay.
Yeah. So once you fulfill your payment, it's a $200 cash. We basically just PayPal you $200 is how we do it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's wild. Okay, so I'm just curious, when you say that 40% of your guys' acquisition is coming in from referrals, is it literally that pay or get discounted for referral strategy? Or is that a subsection of total word of mouth?
I think that's, yeah. It's all referrals, including, people who are posting about us on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, if they're still on there.
Got it.
That's the 40%.
That's so cool. Fascinating, man.
And then the other probably 60% is referrals from our team, right? Elizabeth, Eric, me, all of us who are just constantly sharing exciting updates about what's going on with Angel Squad. That probably drives the rest of it. I think there's some organic search. We've invested in a blog that has really, really high caliber content. We've built an interesting ecosystem within Hustle Fund. So founders also know about Angel Squad who we've invested in. So we have portfolio founders in Angel Squad, portfolio company employees who have joined Angel Squad. And hopefully that continues to grow as a lot of these companies get bigger and bigger. So I think the ecosystem piece is actually a really big part of our overall kind of growth strategy for Angel Squad and for Hustle Fund as a whole.
Oh man, that's super cool. Okay, time boxing myself. So next section is on community. So I'm really curious what exactly community means for you. This is something that we have a lot of debates around internally within Rupa. So really specifically, for example, what do you think is like the difference between having a community on social media? So you have like this LinkedIn people and these Twitter people versus having like your circle form versus like meeting up in real life. And like, I'm curious how do you guys think of community within Angel Squad?
Yeah, that is a great question. And the way that we really try to think about community with Angel Squad is, are the people in Angel Squad becoming friends with each other? If you could say, I made a friend and I'm keeping in touch with this person, and you keep in touch with them for 6 months or a year and you stay friends, we've helped you form your own personal community, even if it's just one person. And you maybe somebody you otherwise wouldn't have met if you hadn't both joined Angel Squad. I think the strength of the community is really amplified by getting together in person. So we invest significantly into in-person events. We actually have local leads in, I think, 12 different markets who are in Angel Squad, and they're tasked with hosting in-person events that we pay for. So we have somebody in Houston, Atlanta, London, Singapore, obviously San Francisco, New York, Chicago, right? Miami, all the major metropolitan hubs. And every quarter, at least once, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times, we're getting the squad together in person. And the idea is just go to dinner, go to happy hour and just hang out. There's not like a pitch that's happening at those events. It's more just like, let's just get the people together and have them meet each other. Most likely they're going to end up talking about angel investing because that's why we all joined Angel Squad. But if you want to talk about your kids, go talk about your kids. Like it's all about just building that sort of the friendships that we're hoping people can kind of make and get out of it.
Man, that's so cool. Okay. So what do you think is like the impact of having that community where people like actually talk to each other and make friends in long-term relationships? So I'm like curious, like why is that such an important piece? Like why not just have people pay for access to like flow? How do you like judge the impact of that community piece?
Such a good question. So I think from a pure business perspective, if you want to look at where do you see that actually show up, it's retention. And we think, if you're making friends at Angel Squad, you're not going to churn. This is a subscription model if you're on the quarterly plan. And so if you're excited about the people you're meeting, then you're most likely not going to churn. But from a more high level philosophical perspective, Hustle Fund is, like I said, building this ecosystem. It's founders, it's investors, it's family offices. And the whole purpose of this ecosystem is to democratize access to wealth creation from startups. And so that's really been kind of a walled garden for many, many years when it comes to founders. It's the pedigreed founder who's always been able to raise money, right? Yeah. Hustle Fund's entire model for investing strips out pedigree. We don't care at all if you went to Stanford. We don't care if you were the top engineer at Google. We want to see you execute and hustle, right? That's why it's called Hustle Fund. And in the same way, so we built a great founder community on that side of the house. And now on the investor side of the house, we're doing the same thing. You can be a doctor, you could be an allergist, you could be a PM at Facebook, you could be whatever background you want. you can be an investor, and you don't have to be accredited to be an Angel Squad either. You just can't invest. That's the SEC piece. We can't do anything about that other than help you become accredited. So there's kind of a community piece, a sub community piece around helping people who want to become accredited. So I think all of it comes together in the form of, can we execute against our mission, which, a lot of people are trying to democratize things these days. We are, I think, executing on that quite well, because if you look at the backgrounds of the people across our portfolio founders and our investor community, it's such a wide range. And now really it comes down to the outcomes of both the founders building and the investments that we make. And so hopefully the community kind of comes together around those things.
Man, I love that so much. Sorry, this is like a Idahoan that's like dropped out of college 6 times before like moving to SF. I deeply resonate with that mission. That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Cool, man. Okay. So as you were like beginning to like build this community, was there like a tipping point where engagement within the community like really began to pop off? I'm like curious if you can identify it, or if it's like something that like happened gradually over time.
Here's the thing about angel investing that I think is a little bit different than many other communities, which is angel investing. One of my insights when I started this was angel investing is a secondary activity for people.
Yeah.
Primary activity is work, is your full-time job. And then secondary, maybe tertiary, it might be way down the list. Angel investing is not number one for almost anyone, unless they're going to try to start a fund or they're trying to go full-time into VC. So as a result, I am not overly focused on the kind of the noise factor in our community. I don't care how many chats are being sent, right? Like that's a Slack metric. That's specifically why I didn't choose Slack for this community. I want this to be a place where it's very, very high signal to noise ratio. And you come and you engage with intention and you get what you're looking for. And then you can stay if you want, or you can go on to your next thing, because this is a secondary thing for you. And so that is how, I wouldn't say there's ever been like a massive inflection point where engagement took off. It's always been about the same. We've added a lot more things so people engage with different things. But I think in terms of like hours spent per week, it's, a couple hours per week probably. And that's probably where it should max out for people. So that's kind of how we think about it.
Man, that's fascinating. So I believe you guys use a Circle as your guys' online platform for your community. So you say you didn't use Slack. How did you decide to like end up at Circle?
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Circle is kind of like, I like to think of it as the same sort of feeling that you used to get from like a Facebook group, but if it was purpose built and you could customize it from the ground up exactly how you would want it, where it's a little bit more kind of a parking lot for conversations and for content to live. They also, because it's purpose built, they have courses that you can, like a course product where you could build courses within the community. It's a really good, robust home for a lot of different use cases of a community. So you could have those conversations, or you could host a lot of videos, right? You could link out to specific content in a really structured way. And so one of the things when I started Angel Squad, I always consistently asking for feedback, talking to the members constantly. And one thing that kept coming up was like, where's the Slack community? Why do we not have a Slack community? There's no synchronous chatter here. Yeah. And that was one of those things where like as an investor, sometimes you ask like, what's one product request that your customers will ask of you that you will never give them? And for me, it's the Slack or the Discord community, because I came with this insight that angel investing is not a good use case for those synchronous communities. It just isn't, because it's the nature of the purpose of what angel investing is for people. And when it's such a secondary aspect of your life, it should not require synchronous activity. It also you should not get overwhelmed when you open the community and you get bombarded with 50 different notifications and takes you an hour to sift through the noise. So we chose Circle with that intention. We've been using it for 2.5 years. Every step of the way, I've had conviction that this was the move. And I'm sure there's probably a subset of people who think it's the wrong move, and they might be gone. They might have quit. But at the end of the day, it's something I have a strong conviction in, and I'm not going to change it. And I'm really glad that we went with Circle. They should. I wish they should pay to sponsor that commentary right there.
No, I love it. Yeah, no, we have spicy internal debates about Rupa about like what we should do for our community. Tying this into our next question is what we were trying to figure out, and I'm curious your guys' thoughts on is there like a specific job to be done that around your Circle community? Like what are the reasons that people come into that Circle community and would want?
Yeah, I think the job to be done is something around education more than anything. So I don't think the general purpose for people is to come and just hang out and like try to find other friends to meet with through the community. Yeah. I think they should come because they find the content interesting. They're curious about hearing from, Hustle Fund on something that we recently learned or something we noticed in the market. Oh, we saw, this tweet storm and here's our perspective on it. And so it should be kind of a source of unique insights and education for people who are curious about learning more than they did before about angel investing.
It's fascinating. So does the content come from like Angel Squad team members, or does the content come from like other angels within the community?
Both. Yeah, good question. So I would say Hustle Fund's actively posting our thoughts around like as it kind of creating posts, but there's also responses. So people might come in with a question. Hey, I was reviewing this safe document and I had a couple questions about, X, Y, and Z, if this is normal for them to do or, whatever that is. So they might be coming with a question and Hustle Fund is answering the question, or other squad members are answering the question. So I think some people want to be helpful and chime in and help answer the questions or feed into the discussion that's already taking place. Other people come with their own questions. And I think that's part of, the value of this diverse community that we've created is we get a lot of really interesting comments back about posts that somebody in the squad adds or something that we post where maybe it's just a different way of thinking about that same topic that nobody else would have thought. And it's, because, this person can really provide a unique perspective on it.
Man, okay, that's so cool. Sorry, you just had so many dots connect for me. I think I see people do this a lot. So Doximity is like community for doctors, right? But they say community for doctors, but it's a lot of their own content. Like it's like they're pushing out content and then like doctors are engaging with it.
Interesting.
I see Bessemer doing this as well, where they have like these like executive communities, but a lot of it is like their VPs, internal people like seeding content, and then it's like people engaging with it. And then you think of like the early stories of Reddit, where like before they had any users, like they were just like making fake accounts and like pushing out content. It's interesting, right? It's an interesting strategy. Is like as you begin to like bootstrap your own community and you like put up the Circle page or whatever, and you just like have nobody in there quite yet, is like, if you can start by you're the one like primarily pushing out content and then allow people like to come into the space and then engage and then like spin off of it. Anyways.
Yeah. And they could post the content too. You could kind of think of it as like, what are some of the things that you were thinking about posting on LinkedIn or Twitter? And then you're like, well, maybe not because it's too into the weeds or, something like that. Like maybe the audience doesn't really care about this thought that I have. But the people in the squad, they might, and let's give them kind of a more transparent view into what's going on. For example, I also took a screenshot of an email thread and I blurred out some of the private information, but like there's a recapitalization going on at one of the companies that we were deciding if we were going to participate and do a kind of a pay to play round. And so I blurred out a bunch of the information associated with it. And I did not tweet about this because obviously that would just be a bad idea. But with Angel Squad, we want to show that sort of really inside, behind the scenes look into what we're doing day to day and how they can learn from it. And so that was one of the more popular posts I think I've ever posted, because people were like, whoa, I didn't even know companies did this. Like, how does this even work? And so that's a really good way to just kind of re-engage the community and answer some questions.
I love it. That's awesome, Brian. All right, very last question. So who is the right person that should want to join Angel Squad, and how do they get involved with you guys?
So our kind of ICP is anyone who is curious about becoming smarter about angel investing. So that could be somebody who has never made an angel investment, doesn't know where to start. They're at 0. That could be somebody who's made 5 investments. And I think, or it could be somebody who's made 20 or 100. At the end of the day, most of these people are writing 1 to 5K checks. They are really excited to communicate and connect with founders who are building something that the founder is extremely passionate about, and that, that as an angel investor, you would become inspired by. And I think beyond that, we're very open in terms of who we want in this community. We're a lot of the angel communities that have existed have really, we have a no a-hole policy at Angel Squad, because we really want to keep it a kind of a warm and a safe place for people. Other angel programs don't go with that. They want elite. They want billionaires. They want your 100K check writers. It's kind of a status symbol, and we do not want that. So I think that maybe that's helpful, is like who should join and who should not join.
I love it. That's awesome. And how do they get involved? Just angelsquad.com?
It's hustlefund.vc/squad.
Awesome. I will link that somewhere. I don't know how to.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Brian, thank you so much for kicking off this interview series with me, man. This was such a fun conversation. I deeply appreciate it.
It was super fun, man. Good questions. Thanks for coming with such preparation. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Awesome.
All right, man. Good stuff. Thanks, Kobe.
Okay, I'm pausing.
All right. See ya. Bye.